This is lesson 3, subtracting integers. Make sure you have your copy of the class notes, a pencil, and a highlighter. Highlight along and fill these notes out with me. When we're subtracting integers, our rule, and the rule you'll hear us using a lot, is KCC. We have another acronym. Keep, change, change. So go ahead and fill that in. This is one way of thinking about how to subtract. When you see subtraction happening between integers, you want to keep, change, change. And I'll explain what that means in a second. However, some people like to prefer to use another way of doing it, which is fine. You may hear us or somebody saying, add a line, change the sign. We're essentially doing the same thing with both rules, whether you do KCC or whether you add a line, change the sign. It's just two separate ways of thinking about it, but you're essentially doing the same thing and you'll get the same answer. This is exactly why I love math, because there's multiple ways to do it. So below, these are your two steps, and I'm going to explain them through an example rather than reading them to you right away. You can start to read them yourself if you'd like, but I want to just move right down this and take a look at a problem and an example, and then we'll try it on our own. So if we're given the problem 9 minus 12, I notice that it's subtraction. So when I see that there's subtraction happening, I want to be thinking keep, change, change, or add a line, change the sign. So as soon as I identify it's subtraction, I like to add those 3 letters above the problem. Do you have to do that? No. That's just a nice tool, rule of thumb that I like to do to remind myself. So first, I identify that it's a subtraction, so we're going to use the rule keep, change, change. The second thing I'm going to do is apply that rule. So what does that rule mean? When I say to keep, I'm going to keep the 9 the same. So I would just keep it as 9. I'm going to change, so that C, remember it means change. I'm going to change that subtraction to addition. And then I'm going to change that last number. It's a 12. Let's change it to a negative 12. We're going to change the sign. So now I have 9 plus negative 12. So that's my new problem. So now we're going to do our third step. We're going to solve that new problem. Now, take note, this is now an addition problem. When I'm adding integers, what was the rule that we did last lesson? We're doing the rule SADS. Take a look at that problem. Do they have the same signs or do they have different signs? They have different signs, right? So when they have different signs, we're going to subtract, then take the sign of the larger number. So I'm going to subtract 12 minus 9. I get 3. And now we're taking the sign of the larger number. 12 is larger, so my answer should be negative. So I get a negative 3 as my final answer. Let's walk through a few more examples. And then maybe we'll have you do some of these as well. Let's do some practice here. So first one, I notice it's subtraction. I have negative 12 minus 8. So I'm going to do keep, change, change. I'm going to keep that first number the same. I'm going to change my subtraction to addition. And I'm going to change, this is a positive 8, Don't confuse it with that subtraction sign. I'm going to change a positive 8 into a negative 8. I now have an addition problem. So now I want to apply the rules of SADS. So let's think. Do they have the same signs or different? Negative, negative. I'm noticing the same signs. Remember, same signs we add and keep that sign. So 12 plus 8 is 20. We keep the same sign, so it's going to be a negative 20. Let's try this next one. Now, earlier I shared with you that some people don't use KCC. Some people think of it as add a line, change the sign. So let me tell you what that means in case you prefer that saying. Maybe you'll remember that more than KCC. Now, KCC is kind of like, you might know the acronym KCF, which is keep, change, flip. That's when we divide with fractions. So this is just another similar one, but we're doing KCC. Keep, change, change. So let's take a look. If I want to think of it as add a line, change the sign, what they mean by that is that I'm going to add a line to this subtraction sign to make it into an addition sign. Add a line, and then I'm going to change the sign of the second number. Right now it's negative, I'm going to make it positive. So my new problem is 10 plus 3. We have addition problem now. They have the same signs. I'm thinking of SADS. They have the same signs, so we're gonna add. And we're gonna keep that same sign, so it's gonna stay positive. Now, even if we did this as keep, change, change, do you notice how we still did the same thing? We changed subtraction to addition. We changed a negative 3 to a positive 3. So the rules are the same. It's just the way that you're kind of saying it or thinking it to yourself. Do you want to think of it as KCC, or do you want to think of it as add a line, change the sign? All right, next, let's do this next one together. I'm going to say KCC. Let's keep it a 3. Change subtraction to addition. Change a positive 9 to a negative 9. Now that I have an addition problem, you should be thinking of SADS. Same sign add, different signs subtract. So look at those two numbers. We have a positive 3 and a negative 9. They're different, right? So what does it mean when they're different? What should we do with those two numbers? Go ahead and do that on your paper. What should you do with both of those numbers? And then decide, is my answer positive or negative? Hopefully you got -6. If you did, you are correct. They have different signs. You should have subtracted them. So 9 minus 3 is 6. And then take the sign of the larger number. 9 is larger, so my answer is negative. If you want to, you can pause the video and try this last problem on your own. Press play once you've tried it through in order to check yourself. All right, let's figure out what we do with this problem. I'm going to do keep, change, change. Keep it -7, change subtraction to addition, change a -4 into a +4. Now I have addition, so I'm thinking of SADS. They have different signs, so I know I should have subtracted. 7 minus 4 is 3. I take the sign of the larger number, which is 7. So my answer should be negative. You got a -3. Good job. That is it for our actual notes and the lesson itself for this this lesson 3, subtracting integers. Let us know if you have any questions. You're going to do a ton of practice with this. Take your time and remember our rules. Thanks.